If you fly a drone over certain parts of China today, you will capture footage of sprawling, modern metropolises that are entirely silent. There are no cars on the streets, no lights in the windows, and no people on the sidewalks. You can drive for hundreds of miles through provinces like Liaoning or Hunan, and the view outside your window stays exactly the same. Endless clusters of residential buildings and commercial centers, completely abandoned. Looking at the scale of this emptiness, it is natural to assume a massive miscalculation occurred, a catastrophic failure of urban planning where millions of homes were built for a population that never arrived. While these buildings appear abandoned, they serve a specific function in a financial system that prioritizes property as an asset over property as shelter. To understand why they exist, we have to look at how Chinese citizens are forced to manage their wealth. In China, an astonishing 70% of a typical household's net worth is locked up in real estate. This visualizes exactly what that behavior looks like on a macroeconomic scale. The Chinese real estate market carries a valuation of $60 trillion, and as the following pie chart shows, that single sector props up 30% of China's gross domestic product. This creates a contradiction. If these apartments are the most valuable asset class on Earth, why do their owners refuse to live in them? And why is this $60 trillion engine suddenly showing signs of critical failure? To understand the consumer, you have to look at their options. For the average Chinese citizen, alternative avenues for investing savings are heavily restricted. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, for example, are strictly illegal. The domestic stock market is highly unpredictable. The government frequently intervenes by freezing trades, delisting companies, or making prominent corporate figures disappear, leaving traditional stock investing unappealing to everyday people. Add to that the heavy cultural expectations surrounding property. If a young man wants to get married, owning an apartment is considered a requirement before he can even propose. Squeezed between immense social pressure and state-enforced limitations on other investments, buying property became the only rational, historically reliable path to protecting savings. Because owning property inside major city centers is wildly expensive, everyday people turn to sprawling new developments. Developers build these massive complexes hours away from any real urban infrastructure, specifically so they can sell them at a price point normal citizens can afford. But that still leaves the question of why a buyer would spend their life savings on a remote apartment and refuse to finish building it. The answer lies in traditional beliefs. In the Chinese market, installing plumbing, laying down flooring, and fully furnishing an apartment actually devalues it. Many buyers believe a finished unit carries the previous owner's bad karma, or bad feng shui. Because the next buyer will want to rip everything out to start fresh, an empty concrete shell is worth more than a livable home. Trying to rent the space out doesn't make financial sense either. In cities like Shenzhen, an owner might pay 30,000 renminbi a month for their mortgage, but only collect 4,800 in rent, taking on the hassle of a tenant for a significant monthly loss. This creates a strange incentive. The optimal investment strategy is to buy a raw, windowless concrete box in the middle of nowhere, touch absolutely nothing, and wait for the price to go up. To feed this insatiable consumer demand for concrete savings accounts, corporate real estate developers had to build at a frantic pace. This flowchart illustrates the mechanics developers use to build those ghost cities. A company takes out a massive loan to start a project, collecting cash from buyers for unbuilt apartments. They use that capital as leverage to secure even more debt to pay suppliers. The survival of this system depends on constant exponential growth. As long as borrowing is cheap and buyers hand over cash, the cycle spins smoothly. The landscape of vacant towers we see today is the result of a highly leveraged corporate debt model, where a developer's survival depends on constant expansion and the ability to keep borrowing. Eventually, the Chinese government recognized that this debt cycle was overheating, posing a direct threat to the stability of the national economy. To cool the market down, regulators introduced a policy known as the Three Red Lines. This was a strict set of new financial criteria designed specifically to prevent highly leveraged real estate developers from taking on reckless new loans. The results were immediate. Practically zero real estate companies in China actually met the criteria for the Three Red Lines, instantly cutting off their ability to borrow any further capital. By shutting off the flow of cheap debt, the government froze the economic engine. Developers suddenly lacked the funds to pay their workers, and millions of buyers were trapped holding mortgages for apartments that would never be finished. The physical fallout is visible across the country. Major property developers like Evergrande face collapse, construction cranes sit idle, material suppliers go unpaid, and skylines are dominated by half-built towers with no crews left to finish them. Behind closed doors, the government is scrambling. They are manipulating interest rates, offering to pay the first year of a buyer's mortgage, and working to suppress negative news in the press to prevent a nationwide panic. These empty ghost cities are the load-bearing pillars of China's recent economic growth. If the debt keeping them standing finally gives out, it threatens to pull the rest of the system down with it.